today, Kirk Franklin came out with a documentary. If you've seen it, raise your hand in the comments. If you haven't, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. All right, Kirk Franklin is releasing an album called Father's Day. And he released a video, just a clip of it, showing how the doctor was saying, which is Dr. Jill, I knew that was her voice. Dr. Jill was saying 99.995% whatever, okay? And so that's all we saw. But today, he dropped a bomb on all of us. He dropped a bomb on all of us. If you haven't seen it, you need to go to YouTube. You need to watch it. Because let me tell you something. It was very emotional. And it showed us a part of Kirk Franklin that many of us, aside of him, that we really have not seen. It was very vulnerable for him. And it was very vulnerable for those that were involved. So if you don't know, at a funeral, listen, you will find out, if you go to a funeral, especially a black person's funeral, there will be people that show up at the funeral that you'll be like, you look like me. And you look like me, but I don't know who you are. Okay, so at funerals, we find out things, okay? And you find out you have a half brother. You find out you have a half sister. You find out that whoever has passed away had somebody on the side and all this kind of stuff like that, okay? So all of that happens at funerals, okay? Thank God none of that happened at my parents' funeral. But at this funeral, there was a rumor going around that Kirk Franklin's mom dated this guy named Mr. Rick, right? Mr. Rick. And because the rumors was going around, he said that his dad, he said that Mr. Rick did not know that, he dated his mom, but he didn't know. It's a small town. He didn't know that she was pregnant or any of those things. Now, I'm gonna put a pin in that because I grew up in a small town, okay? I'm not debunking nothing. But when he said that, I was like, okay. A small town where everybody know everybody. Not a small town where, you live across town. A small town where everybody knows everybody. I cannot 100% say, okay, that was true. Because I grew up in a small town. When people got pregnant, everybody knew. When people, especially at that age, 15, okay, that is something that somebody said they did they send her? No, they didn't send her away. She was there. And so my thing is, at age 15, you was messing with her. That means he was young too. So he very well, though, you know what? He very well, because he was young, he very well was stay out of grown folks' business. Okay? The grown people may have known she was pregnant, but he didn't know. So that may have happened. All right. So here we are. And the father, Mr. Rick at the time, because he didn't know. Well, Kirk knew, but Mr. Rick didn't know. Yes, he does favor his dad. And so he's sitting there, and when he finds out, this is what made my heart break for Mr. Rick. When Mr. Rick finds out, he looks dead at Kirk. And you can see the wheels in his head turning. Like, I missed so much of his life. And he breaks down. And it looks like he looks at Kirk and was like from a little boy all the way up until now, I missed all of these years. As he was like, I'm sorry. And so Kirk was like, you didn't know. You know, it's okay. You know, giving his dad a lot of grace. Now, I want to talk about the mama because the aunt, Sandra, the cousin aunt, the cousin aunt Sandra, the one, we all have an aunt Sandra, right? You come home, they don't care how big you are. Kirk Franklin is one of the biggest gospel artists in America, okay? And when she talks to him like he's nobody. We all have people like that back at home. I don't care. They're in their mind, they're like, I don't care who you are. I am this to you, and you're going to address me as such, just to put you in your place, right? And so that's what I felt from her. We all have family members like that. I know I do. So when you go home, they treat you like, I ain't gonna say treat you like trash, they just treat you like a child. Like, they treat you like, I wiped your hind part or whatever. It kind of gave me Antoine Fisher vibes too. Like, it kind of gave me a lot of emotional abuse. And a lot of, it kind of gave me that vibe. Because I've never seen Kirk Franklin go into the mode that he went in when he was dealing with his mama and his aunt. It's like he was a little boy again. And I know that feeling, because when I go back to Eureka, that's how I feel. But it's not like that though. It's because I choose to, because they take care of me when I go home. But anyway, so his mom, she was 15. We got to understand that. She was 15. And when he gave her those papers, and the paper said 99.995, she looked at the paper and said, it's not true. Deborah, maybe she don't understand how paternity tests work. Cause Kirk Franklin was good with that. Cause I've been like, what you mean it's not true? Do you see this paper? And that immediately made me realize that, okay, his mom has trauma too. Okay? We don't know what happened. We don't know how she got pregnant. We don't know what. It don't matter if there was someone else, because the paternity test said 99.99995%, almost 100%, that Mr. Rick is his father. But the mama, Miss Deborah, looks at it and says, this is a lie. And I swear on my dead mama's grave that this is not true. That's a strong statement for something that is true. So we got to understand that, I mean, that's why the father, the father didn't know, because I'm saying the father said he didn't know. That's what he said. But I'm from a small town. And I don't know any small town that if something like that happened, that there would not have been rumors before. So she just, because they dated. He didn't say he just had a one night stand with her. He said that I dated your mom. That's what he said. So I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so the mom probably told him that this guy was your daddy and didn't want to deal. So the what I'm trying to pull out is why, when it's saying that it's true, why she don't want to admit that Mr. Rick is the daddy. And he seemed like he's a nice guy. This is real. My mother said the same thing about my brother's father from a small town in Pennsylvania. That's what I'm saying. So there has to be some type of trauma between why she don't want to admit that the DNA is true. There has to be a reason. And so I saw one of my friends on my T-mail say, the grace that we're giving, Kirk, and the grace that we're giving the father, and Carry On and all them to heal, the mother needs the grace too. Because being a 15-year-old black female that's pregnant, now you're already what society said that you're going to be, right? You can't fulfill your dreams anymore because you had a baby, right? Now you can't take care of this baby because you're 15. So now you have to give your baby away. That's another thing that you got to deal with, okay? Then you come to visit your baby that you gave away like 3 times a year. And I'm hearing Kirk Franklin say, how hurtful it kept pulling off a womb on him. But the flip side of that is it probably did a doohickey. I can't even get my words out on her too. A doozy. Because I don't know any mother that don't want to mother unless there is some type of trauma. And I look at the relationship she had with her sister, and I look at how they both were, how both of their stance was when they was talking to Kirk Franklin, how they were both just really, I ain't gonna say mean, but they were like really, it was something that I've seen before. And so I'm saying, I remember my mom telling me things way later. That generation, they will hold stuff and will never, like we saw that the 2 DNA tests said 99.995, and she still said it's not true. Miss Deborah, it is true. But I need for everybody else to understand that it has to be something deeper. Because I'm telling you, my mom told me a long time ago, because when she didn't know that I had got molested when I was little, right? So when I finally told her, she was like, I wish I would have known, because something happened to me before too. And I would have never thought anything happened to my mom. I'm like, something happened to you? And my mom always wanted to live up north. She never wanted to. I think that's where my traveling come from. She never wanted to live in the country. She wanted to live up north. But she went to visit her sister that lived in New York. And when her sister went to work one day, she told me that her sister's boyfriend tried to rape her. And she locked herself in the bathroom until her sister came home from work. And when her sister came home from work, she told her she wanted to go back home. She went back home and never went back to the city. And never told anybody. I was the only person she told, and I was grown when she told me. So when it comes to stuff like, I've heard the phrase when I was growing up, there's just certain things you just don't tell. You don't tell stuff like that. You don't tell stuff like that. And so growing up and I heard that in my generation. And so I'm just trying to figure out, like, what is it that Kirk Franklin's mother, what is it that she endured, that she is looking at a piece of paper and it's telling her that this man, Mr. Rick, is Kirk Franklin's daddy, And I heard her say, is my denial, is that going to put a wedge between us? I bet y'all didn't hear it. She said out of her mouth, my denial, is it going to bring a wedge between us? So it's not that, and in that moment I said, okay, so it's not that she's not comprehending. She don't want to believe it. She don't want to believe that, okay, I slept with this man at a young age and this is his father. But I was like, okay, how much older is Kirk Franklin's father from her? Because it very well could have been something traumatic that happened and she just didn't want to tell what it was. She didn't want to bring. So whatever it is, it's more important for her to hold on to the truth and lose her son versus just telling him everything that happened. She's not telling her side. And that's what I gathered from that. And it's okay to see, it's okay for her to be that way. And I think that now that he knows the truth, I think that you're right. Her sister was trying to gently get her to tell the truth. Yes. And I think her sister knows the ins and outs of everything that happened. Because it's been, right, yeah, because they haven't talked since that day. So it's been years. I think Kirk Franklin said it was 23 years that he not seen his mom before this. And I understand Kirk's stance because he was the child. And he had a hard life. I understand that. I really understand him having to have boundaries. I understand that. He have to. Because she's probably done a lot of things that really hurt him. And now this is another thing that he has to deal with because she's not willing to tell the truth. And she admitted that she was in denial. Okay? So she's going to have to go to therapy for that. But in that generation, we have to give them the grace. And I've said this in so many counseling sessions. I've said that, that generation did the best they could. They don't really know how to love. They're very guarded. And they want you to just believe what they say. And when it comes to the point where you're trying to unravel all of that stuff, they don't know what to do. So they rather just keep it to themselves and don't unpack it. But I hope that Kirk Franklin can see the bigger picture as he's healing with his daddy, because it seemed like his dad really is what he need right now. Because I know he said, I only know myself as, not being well. Now that I'm about to be well, everybody around Kirk Franklin is about to really see a change. Because a man having his dad is something really different. That generation better trust medical doctors. She's definitely not going to a therapist. It all goes back to how they were taught since slavery passed down to even us. Yes. So I think the only person that could probably help Kirk Franklin's mom is a healed Kirk Franklin. And they really are going to have to go through, because I think there's something there that he's really not ready to hear. And I think she's not gonna want to unpack it because, a lot of things. And Carry On, I was glad to see Kirk Franklin and Carry On reconcile. It was so beautiful. I mean, you could tell that's all Kerrion wanted. All he wanted was to be in his daddy's presence. All of them had the same reaction to what happened. All of them cried. All of them are crybabies. I said, yes, they are related. Kirk crying, Mr. Rick crying, and Kerrion, all of them crying. The Waterworks was going on. So if you have not watched the documentary, the small, documentary, you need to go watch it. My heart goes out to Miss Deborah because I can only imagine growing up in that time in a small town, what she had to go through. I'm not excusing her, but I just know the processes of how people think when they have been through a lot of traumatic experiences. And growing up in a small town makes it worse. Because you never hear the end of it. Never. The shame is always there, especially if you've done something that the whole town do not agree on. You will never outlive that. And so I just hope and pray that the healed Kirk Franklin, because right now I don't think he has the capacity, he don't have the bandwidth, that's something that I say, that to even deal with that right now. So I hope that his father is willing to, just be there for him. I know he is. He seemed like he is. And to come to find out, and his sister, he has a sister by his daddy. So Kirk Franklin has a half sister. And the half sister is saying she's going through because not only does she know she has a brother, but now you have a brother that's Kirk Franklin. So how do you deal with that? She may not ever verbalize this, but Kirk is a representation of that trauma. That's why she rejects him. Yes, something happened. I'm not going to say what happened, but I know in small towns, things happen that should not happen. And it gets swept under the rug depending on who the people are. So it seems like Kirk Franklin's mom and them, they were not that well off. Being that, I'm thinking that maybe, I'm not going to say what I think happened. Because I don't want to project or anything like that. I just know that something happened. Something happened. And she wants a relationship with Kirk Franklin. She does. But it's not that important for her to tell that truth. And that's a hard pill to swallow if you are the child. That's a hard pill because Kirk Franklin's like, all I need you to do is tell me. And she's like, tell you what? I done told you that he ain't it. But clearly, she knows he is because she said she was in denial. Yes, things do happen in small towns. You hit the nail. Yeah, things happen in small towns. And I'm not saying this happened to Kirk Franklin and Mr. Rick, Kirk Franklin's mama and Mr. Rick, but I'm saying that, the guy that they usually, the person that is doing well for themselves, the football players, the person that they're most likely to succeed, and because he looks well off now. The daddy looks like he's doing well. He looks clean. He's well put together. So throughout these years, he's been okay. But we can tell that something happened to Kirk Franklin's mama. And I'm not saying that Mr. Rick did it, but something happened. And for her to even look at a paternity test and it's telling you what the truth is, and you say, on my mama's grave, it's not true. What? Some women just want who they want to be the father. She said something like, I couldn't have my son then, and I can't have him now, when she started crying. Yes. So it took me, I thought about so many movies when I was watching this. I thought about Antoine Fisher. I thought about The Color Purple. I thought about how Lucius was with his Lucius lines. I thought about Zach's mama now, because that's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm watching now. All of those traumatic experiences that men had with their moms, right? But when you think about The Color Purple one, because it's really like showing from a woman's perspective how she got pregnant and then they just took the baby. She didn't even have a say in her keeping her children. She had 2 children by her daddy. Thought her daddy, because remember she said Paul, not Paul. So it's just a lot. It's really a lot to. It's really a lot. Deborah would rather keep it buried than face whatever it is. This goes deeper than right. The only and you can tell. And then when she walked away, right? When Deborah walked away, she has built up such a coping mechanism with this relationship that she has with Kirk Franklin. It was like, whatever. He's not hearing me. He's not going to understand. So why even bother? That's what I felt. And when I felt that, I really was so hurt, because she really wants a relationship with him, but she don't know how. Man, that thing tore me up. And then it tears me up because Kirk Franklin, I understand his stance. Because if you watch Fatima, right? Zach's mom had lied to him for so many years, but he still tried to do for her, right? Same thing with Kirk Franklin. I could tell that she hasn't been, whatever he needed for her to be in his life. So he has to have boundaries, okay? And so that's where that therapist thing come in at, the third party to help you hear. Because just as much as she wasn't hearing him, he wasn't hearing her either. If he was more healed, he probably could have read between the lines that, you know what, Mom, we know the truth now, let's just move forward. But he's like, I can't move forward with you because you're a liar. But I get it. I believe he will come around. I believe Kirk Franklin will come around soon, not sooner, but later. I believe later he will come around. Because I always say this. This is what I always say. If you have parents, no matter how good or bad they have been in your life, okay? When that parent is gone, ain't no coming back from that. So I always say, even if it's not good, you still need to try to do something to have some type of, it ain't gotta be you all chummy, we going out shopping and all that kind of stuff, but at least a phone call once a month, whatever you can stand, at least. Because when that parent is gone, both of my parents are gone. I wrote a book about it. When that parent is gone, they can't come back. And then you're going to have all of these regrets. You're going to have all of this, I should have did this and I should have did that and all those things. Your parents are a part of you, whether you want to agree with it or not. We saw Kirk Franklin daddy. That is his daddy. Though he even crossed his legs like his dad. He don't even know that's his daddy. He crossing his legs just like him. He crying just like him. His mannerisms, everything just like his daddy. Just like Carry On, just like his daddy. They cannot deny each other. They're like the Three Stooges. You cannot deny them. Rick, Carry On, and Kirk. You cannot deny them three, okay? So your parents are a part of you, whether you know it or not. And when they're not here, that's a hole there that nobody can replace. Nobody can replace whatever. Deborah may have brought a lot of pain, but that pain made Kirk Franklin. If he didn't have that pain, I don't think we would have known the Kirk Franklin we know today. Okay? So we have to learn how to understand that generation. I know because my mama was a part of that generation. They don't talk like that. They don't express their feelings like us. I had to really, and my mama was bipolar too, so I had to really tap into some Jesus to really have great conversations with my mama, because there were times where she just wasn't herself. And I had to understand, okay, this is not my mama right now. This is her condition. This is her mental illness talking right now. She don't really mean these things she's saying to me. Me as the adult child, I had to parent my mom. And it was difficult because I wanted to be like, you the parent, you should be talking to me like that. But I couldn't do that because she was bipolar. How could I expect her to do that? And so when I talk to adults in my sessions that are my age and they're trying to get through to their parents, I have to tell them, listen, there are a lot of our parents walking around here that are not diagnosed. They have been through so much trauma. They have mental illnesses that they're not willing to, find out about, because, come on. There are some things that our parents just, they endured, and it broke down their mental psyche. They're not well, okay? And I hate to say it like that, but you always bending for, I don't know how they said, the white man. You always taking the back seat. There's something wrong with that. You always dumbing yourself down, knowing that you're smarter than your boss. That chunks away at a person's who they are. And our parents did it for years. They worked for people that didn't appreciate them. I'm getting emotional because, listen, my mama worked as a nurse at a place for 25 years. And because they changed the name and got under new management, her years didn't count. And she had to start over. Do you hear what I'm saying? And she acted like it was nothing. I think I want to say 15 at the time. And I'm the one saying, that's ridiculous. But not my mama. No, she went to work. Everything and was going to work. And I know that it bothered her. So much so that her mind slipped. And now she's at work. They're working her to death. She's at work and giving people the wrong medicine. And so then they had to be like, okay, Miss Dunn, we got to let you go because you've done this too many times. So now she don't have a job. Now she's stressed. And then after her daddy died, that was it. She didn't recover. And so I know that generation, they hold a lot of things. That's why a lot of them be dying from cancer. They be dying from a lot of things because they just do not talk. They don't talk. And so my heart broke for Miss Deborah because, and I love the story Kirk Franklin told. I really do. I love that he found his daddy. I love that him and Carry On, they, but I'm a woman, right? So my heart broke for his mom. My heart broke for her because I know there is something that she wanted to say, but she couldn't find her voice. And that's unfortunate. It's sad, and I feel like that that was an opportunity that was missed, but I hope it comes around again. I hope it comes around again, and I hope when it comes around again that everybody can give her grace. Because being pregnant at 15 is a lot in itself. Being pregnant in a small town is even harder, okay? And not being able to voice what really happened is another thing, okay? So that's all I got, you guys. I'm holding back tears. Lord, I'll tell you, that junk is hard. But it's so good to chat with you guys. Thank you for being on. I'm going to keep this up. I'm probably going to, get some clip off of this and put it on Facebook because I'm not going live again because I don't think I can take it. It is just too heavy for me. But I had to say something. And you guys, let's just keep Miss Deborah in prayer and hope Miss Sandra get freed from her cussing demon, and hope Carry On and Kirk Franklin keep their reconciliation. And I'm so happy that Kirk Franklin found his daddy. All right? So y'all have a good night.